Let's head out to the Toyota of Hollywood guest line. Shop over 1,500 Toyotas indoors in one of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. He is the new manager of your Miami Marlins, who have their Fan Fest coming up on Saturday at Lone Depot Park. So go check that out. We talked to Jeff Conine yesterday. He's got some big announcements. He wouldn't tell us, Leroy. He wouldn't crack yesterday with his big announcement. You know, I was disappointed that we couldn't get that out of Mr. I thought we could crack him. But
I mean, he said he didn't know.
He didn't know. Yeah, he knows. Skip Schumaker joining us here on the show. Skip, thanks so much for the time. Do you know Jeff Conine's big announcement, Skip? Can we get it out of you?
I have an idea what it's about, but you're not going to get it out of me either.
That's the Fan Fest coming out. Well, Skip, first of all, congratulations on getting the job this offseason. And when you went into this process, were you nervous? Did you think you had a chance this was going to be the cycle? You're very young, one of the youngest managers in baseball. Like, did you think I'm gonna get it this time around? I'm definitely gonna nail a manager job.
You know, you really have no idea what's going to happen in these interviews. I've had a couple of them before in the last few seasons, 2019, 20, and 21, but you don't know how they're going to go. And the other ones, I think, really prepared me for this one. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I would have been ready for the other managerial positions because I was a first base coach when I got those interviews. And I needed to be in that bench coach position to see and really navigate a game and understand how the game is run from this side. And I'm glad I got that seat before I got this job.
Now, Skip, this is a old person's job. Like, I'm so used to seeing, managers so much older. How, with you being a lot younger, is this going to kind of help this team? Because there's a lot of young players and a lot of guys that need to learn, basically how to play the game and what needs to go into it.
Well, I think it's all about relationships. I think, Brian Snicker's not young, and he's a really good manager, right? And then you have Ollie Marmol, who I was a bench coach with last year in St. Louis, who is, I think, the youngest manager in the big leagues. And we won 90-plus games and, had a really good season with an MVP on our roster. So I think you can win with any aged manager. I think it just boils down to the relationships and managing egos. And can you do both? And so I think a big part of what in my success as a player and watching, the managers go through, winning seasons and losing seasons, one had the relationships, one lost the clubhouse. And I think my focus right away from day one is building those relationships and trying to get the most out of the player every single day.
So, Skip, how surprised were you that a guy like Jazz Chisholm came to you and suggested his move to center field? Because when we were speaking with Niner yesterday, he said that's not very common. A lot of the times, managers or front office have to go convince players to do that. So when he broached you with that idea, what went through your head when your young stars coming to you and saying he's going to do something that's, best for the team?
Yeah, it was pretty cool because that was before the Rojas trade. That was before the Arias trade. That was just, hey, if you need me, I'm willing to do whatever you need me to do to help us win. And when you have your best player willing to do anything to help the team win on every given day, any given day, you're in a really good spot. It makes this seat a lot easier and less hot because you don't have to convince your best guy to do something he's uncomfortable with. Now, playing center field, is it going to be really easy on him right away? I'm not sure. He's an elite athlete. Luckily, we have an extended spring training with the WBC going on that we can get, really good work in. But the fact that he had his mind wrapped around that already before we even made these trades was huge. And it's a credit to Jazz. He's ready to win. He's sick of losing. And I think he's going to be really good, a really good center fielder and hopefully an all-star for years to come.
As one of your best players, does that not help how you can approach other guys because you have your best player willing to do whatever it takes? Now you can go to a guy, say a younger guy, and say, hey, why don't you try this out? Or why don't you try this out? And look, Jazz is doing whatever he can to win. We need everybody to be on that same page.
Yeah. I mean, that's really how you start, setting a culture. Right. And, when you have your best player and Sandy and Jazz doing whatever it takes to win, wants the ball in all 9 innings in Sandy, and Jazz was willing to play, even though he made an all-star team the year before at second base and would probably do it again at second base. He's willing to be uncomfortable and for our team to help, move the needle. I mean, how could you not love that? And yes, you're absolutely right. It helps conversations down the road when, hey, listen, our best player was willing to move off of his position to help us win some games. I think you can do it too. And by the way, not everybody can do this. I do believe that defense is one of the tools, the easier tool to get better at. It just takes makeup and hard work. If you don't have those 2 genes, it's not going to work out. Not everybody can just move positions. Jazz has that trait. You ask anybody around here, is he a worker? This guy works. And so that's why there's no doubt in my mind, wherever Jazz goes, he's going to be elite at.
I'm sure you're thrilled you don't have to face him anymore in Sandy Alcantara. You mentioned him. I'm fascinated by this, Skip. We've seen with Sandy, as you mentioned, he likes to go all 9 innings. And if he's not allowed to, we have seen him with Don Mattingly in the past. Let it be known he's not happy about coming out. How do you balance that, man? This guy is a horse. He is one of the best players. And he seems to really hate being taken out of games. Have you already had those talks with him? Do you feel like that's something that's going to come along with the season of knowing, hey, when is the right time to ride a guy like Sandy Alcantara, and when is the time to say, hey, we don't need you to carry the load all the way? Like, how do you think that relationship is going to build throughout this year?
Yeah, I think there's a couple factors that go into that. What's the score of the game? There's different factors that obviously that I'm not going to ride him when it's 8-1. And trying to get, he's at 100 pitches already, and you're saving him down the line. But I will tell you that I want all 5 pitchers trying to go 9 innings. That's the goal, right? To eat up innings, to save our bullpen. That is the goal. Quick outs. Sandy's a horse. I want him to be pissed off when I take the ball. I want Luzardo to be pissed off, and Rogers to be pissed off, and whoever else, Cueto, to be pissed off. I played with Johnny Cueto in 2014 and 15. He's not happy coming out of the game either. Great. That's what I want. Wainwright last year, not happy. Michaelis, not happy. That's the culture you want. You want these guys to be on the mound, the biggest spots. They let them control the game and say, this game is mine. I don't want it to give it to anybody else. However, when I do take the ball and give it to somebody else, now they're the biggest cheerleader for that guy who's on the mound. So I think it's a fine line as far as that's, but you want that competitor. I want that guy on the mound, and Sandy, it's going to be tough to take the ball out of his hands at any time. In fact, I remember after that, I think it was in Philly, we played them in St. Louis a couple weeks later, and Donnie went out in the 9th inning with guys on first and second in a 4-3 game, and he let him go, and then he got a double play ball to end the game, a complete game in St. Louis. So listen, you don't know where he's at physically. When Donnie did that, I had Donnie, great manager. I loved him every moment I had with him. But I think you watch the game and you understand the player before you make any moves.
Are those some of the moments during like the course of a season where your relationship grows with your players? Is that you get a good feel of things like that, and you make the right decisions as far as when to take them out, when to leave them in, and everybody else either on that staff or on the field says, hey, you know what? This guy knows what he's doing.
The play. I mean, you're throughout the season, you start trusting the player more, the player less, right? That's just how it works. They earn your trust. Can I trust him 3 and 4 times through the lineup? And then you have conversations with your pitching staff, your bench coach, and then you watch with your eyes. There's always pregame meetings and like, okay, if Sandy gives us 6 innings, who do we go to? Well, Sandy might take us to 7th and 8th, and then you just watch it and you see how he's throwing the ball and see the crispness of his ball and whoever that is on the mound. So I think you always have a game plan, but the beauty about this game is it's never scripted, right? Very rarely does it go exactly how you think it's going to go in your pregame meetings. I think you're prepared for it to go a certain way, but you always are hopeful that, they exceed your expectations.
We're talking to Skip Schumaker, new Marlins manager. Marlins Fan Fest coming up this Saturday at Lone Depot Park. We're looking forward to being out there for spring training in Jupiter coming up in a couple of weeks as well. Skip, I wanted to ask you about this. So you have a great video of an argument you've gotten into with an umpire as a bench coach when you were with San Diego. It was actually against the Marlins. How much are you looking forward to your first managerial umpire argument? And what is the thing that will set you off the most with these umpires? They can be very sensitive.
Yeah, that was my first career ejection as a player. And 2 years later, here I am as the manager for the Marlins. So, honestly, I've known Doug Eddings for a long time. He was the umpire behind the plate that night, and I had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. And I think when you got to defend your players, the players have to know that you have their back. That's number one. As soon as the players don't feel that, you've lost them. And by the way, you've lost them forever, right? It's not just that night. As soon as they sense that you don't have their back, you're done. And I can tell you that I will have their back at all times because I always felt that as a player with every single manager I had, which is a testament to those guys, starting with Tony La Russa. So I think, am I looking forward to it? My family's not looking forward to it. That's for sure. But I know it's going to happen. I'm not going to give you an over or under of like how many times I'm going to get tossed, but I do have a hair trigger, unfortunately. And but I think with all these new rules and everything, there's a lot less of the ejections than there used to be. So I don't think it's as many times as a lot of people think.
So no stealing a base. Like you're not going to steal a base or maybe throw a rosin bag like a grenade.
I don't know. I don't know if I can lift them. They're a lot bigger than they used to be. Like, yeah. No, I don't know if I can do that anymore.
Now, most of the time when managers get kicked or get ejected, it's because a player is getting ready to get ejected and they go ahead on and jump on that hand grenade for him. That's mostly where that goes, right? It's more of protecting your player from him getting ejected, and you go ahead on and take the L for him.
Yeah, you're trying to save the player. You never want to get, I don't want to get Segura kicked out. I don't want him out of the game. I'd rather be out of the game, or my bench coach or my pitching coach out of the game, and not Sandy or Segura or Jazz, right? I mean, you're definitely always protecting the player, but again, that goes back to having their back and jumping in before stuff hits the fan. And I think that's going to be a big part of a rookie manager is knowing that clubhouse has to know that I have their back and always going to protect them, at any given time.
How have you been practicing the first day of spring training speech? How's that going for you?
I think, my 20 plus years of, listening to speeches given by some Hall of Fame managers, I don't remember too much of them, which makes me a lot more comfortable because unless you really screw it up, a lot of those guys are just like, all right, get this thing over with. I want to get on the field. Let's start playing some baseball, right? And so I'm not overthinking it. It's just going to be a couple quick hitters and I'm done.
Are you with Skip being a young manager, but you've crossed eras, like you've seen like how young players probably consume the game. Like Jazz is a very active guy on social media. He will let himself, if he is happy about something or upset about something, it'll be out there on social media. How do you think you're going to navigate that? Like the idea of, guys are engaged all the time on their phones and things like that. How have you noticed that change with players, not to make, not years through the game?
Yeah, I think players nowadays are trying to build their brand, right? I mean, I think there's life outside of baseball, and that's okay too, because you get to let the fans know who you are as a person, and you're not just a baseball player. You're a human being. You have a personality, and if you want to, say some stuff on social media, you have to also understand there's some repercussions. How's that going to affect us as a team? How's it going to affect teammates? Personal relationships. So, and that's not Jazz. That's everybody in the league and every sport. So that's the stuff, before you hit send is it going to affect our team, our organization? Because honestly, you want to eliminate distractions and BS, right? You just don't want to have any distractions. If we're really in it to win every single day, then you have to eliminate the distractions. So I think there's probably a lot of these young kids or some learning curve and some growing up to do in our this new generation. My son's 15 years old. He's on social media. And there's a lot of talks about social media and what that can do and affect not only your life forever, but to your team and your school and whatever that means. So I think as long as it doesn't have it, there's no distractions inside of our clubhouse, I got no issue with it.
A couple more before we get you out of here. A couple quick hitters here. Skip Schumaker, new Marlins manager. Get out to FanFest this Saturday, guys. Starts at 1 o'clock at Lone Depot Park. They got a lot of fun stuff. Jeff Conine, big announcement. No one will tell us. Skip Schumaker's a lockbox. He won't tell us. So it must be something good coming out. What is the weirdest thing Skip Schumaker has done to get out of a slump?
I'm not sure if I can say that on here. Yeah, I mean, I was very superstitious. I did all kinds of different things. As a player, if you saw my batting routine, I had to do my batting gloves a certain way and line them up, the Velcro exactly in line. If it was crooked at all, I had to readjust. I don't think that the pace of play right now would not go well with me. I'd have a strike called quite often, but I do think that some of the pre-game rituals just changed, honestly, and but I as far as the weirdest, strangest thing I've ever done, I would have to get gas. If I got a hit and I got gas out, I'd have to stop at 55, or I wouldn't stop the gas if I started getting hits. Yeah, so I'd have to go to the gas tank and go, go to 20, 55. I'd have to stop at 55 and then go to the field. So there's some weird stuff. But yeah, I'd do anything for hits. You know what I mean?
It's such a long season. It's understandable.
I used to have stuff like that, but then I put my mouthpiece in and got hit and then forgot about it.
There you go.
And what is the favored dugout snack? What are you tearing through as a game is going on? You gum guy? You a seeds guy? What is you consuming as the game goes on?
Coffee.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love coffee. I like just black coffee, man. I just crush it all day long, all night. Yeah, and I can go right to bed. It's not a great thing, but I love the taste of it. And yeah, the seeds make a mess. I'll mix in some gum because my breath starts stinking, right? I don't want my bench coach thinking, starting moving away. But so gum and coffee are the two things that I'll have during the game.
Have you been introduced to the Cuban coffee down here? Have people giving you that rocket fuel yet?
Oh yeah, so I played in Venezuela in winter ball for 3 months, and then I played for Team USA in Cuba. So I'm very aware of the Cuban coffee. And
did you make the mistake that I did, and they give you the little cafecito cup, and you're like, "No, Phil, give me the big one. What are you doing?"
Thank God, no. Yeah,
what kind of mistake, Leroy?
Yeah, because there is so much sugar in that, and you're ready to roll. There's a crashing element to that too. So I had to take another one after my first one in the 7th inning. So it gets you going, but then you got to keep going. You can't stop. Yeah.
Skip, so thanks so much for the time. We really appreciate it. Congratulations. We're looking forward to spring training, and go check out the Marlins this weekend. FanFest is Saturday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. A lot of meet and greets, a lot of interactive games, behind the scenes tours. And, Skip Schumaker, sounds like we're in good hands, man. Good luck this year.
Yeah, you guys were great. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks.
Yeah.